Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Daniel Hester, CEO of American Precision Engineering, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices, and challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Daniel. It's so great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. Well, before we dive into all things business, uh, share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, so I'm somewhat new to Texas. I've only been here about 5 years, a little over 5 years. So we originally from California, which we don't tell a lot of people from Texas because no one from Texas likes Californians. But now I had a business before that I started. I kind of started in a garage and worked my way up. I had a little hobby business doing engineering and manufacturing, and then eventually became it grew and grew and grew till I could quit my job and started my business full time. And eventually California just got to a point where it had like a expiration date for me, and I had to move somewhere with a little more kind of freedom and liberty and a little more better business climate. And so we moved to Texas, bought a house in 2019, and kind of got to move right in the middle of the pandemic and start a business in a state where I knew nobody and nobody wanted to open any doors to let us in. So it was kind of a battle to get started, but it's been good. Love being here.
Oh, good. Well, welcome, and I'm glad you're here. I'm new to Texas too, so yeah, it's like once you finally get in, it's like it's like the doors open. So I'm excited to dive in. So tell me a little bit about your company, like kind of what is it and who do you serve?
Yeah. So we're a small company. We're usually around 12 people or so. We're slowly growing, and we serve kind of a somewhat wide range of customers. So aerospace, defense, automation, automotive, robotics, and kind of anyone doing some form of advanced manufacturing. And we're typically, what I say, we're building the things that builds the things. So we make a lot of machines and systems for other companies to build stuff like rockets or hypercars or kind of that cutting edge technology. So we're sort of like if you're familiar with Skunk Works, what they were like back for the aviation industry. We're kind of like a fractional Skunk Works where we serve as a R&D and prototype company serving other advanced manufacturing companies.
Mm, just taking a couple notes. This is a great place for that because we've got a lot of rockets here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, that's very cool. So how did you get started in this? Like what led you to that type of business?
As a kid growing up, I just always wanted to have a business. My dad owned a construction company, so I just grew up thinking that, well, that's what you do when you grow up is you start a business. And I was always a tinker from like my earliest memories and kind of jokes I get from my family would be, I'd get some Christmas gift and I would disassemble it to want to know how it worked on the inside. And so that's just this kind of like, genetically ingrained in me. I still take everything apart. And so I've just been a tinker my whole life of building things, designing things, refining things. And so the path into business was just kind of this slow progression of that. Uh, Eventually I would do it till someone would pay me to do it, and then it just like grew and grew in complexity until the customers that we go after now are kind of like the tip of the spear. So it's just been this kind of like lifelong progression of wanting to own a business, and then kind of as I've aged, being a little more particular of what that business would look like.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it's cool to see that. One of my nephews is a big tinkerer too, and he kind of has that same mentality. So I kind of I can relate. But looking at now your business, you talked about your employees a little bit. What's your ownership structure like right now?
Yeah, so we're S corp. The 100% shareholder. My previous company that I sold, I started off as a sole proprietor, the same, and ended up taking on an investor that I ended up selling to. Um, but I don't think I would ever do a partnership or anything again. I like being, uh, I like most of the aspects of it all being on you. So, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And that kind of leads me perfectly to my next question. What is your day-to-day look like? Are you primarily working in the business or on the business or a little bit of both?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. I think for a long time I've been trying to transition out of the day-to-day business, but we're in a very technical business, so I still serve a lot of engineering role. So, that I'm going to always be in the business at some respect. But I do spend a lot of time, refining processes or training people or hiring, and just kind of steering the ship at a high level. But I'm in the business more than I would like to be talking about, with people about things I frankly don't really want to be talking about, but I'm actively working to, build that up so that I don't have to as much in the future.
Ooh, I want to dive in a little deeper. So, what are the things that you're currently doing to help kind of get you a little more out of that role and working more on the business?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's for me, when I was first starting my company, my first business, almost, I guess, 15 years ago, I'd really studied all these other businesses that I knew, and I recognized some people could just never get out of the shop. Like they were just stuck in the shop. And so I knew right away I couldn't do that. I didn't want to do that. And so I've always been very process oriented. Like if you can't write it down, you don't really know what you're doing. And so we've been from the word go here, very process oriented. You know, our business has, like if you walk up to almost any machine, there's going to be QR codes for videos of how to do certain tasks. And some of those are pretty complicated, and some of those are, very simple things like how do you change the printer paper or whatever. Like it seems silly, but it's not silly if somebody, knocks on your door when you're in the middle of focusing on something to ask a stupid question. And so we build a lot of where we try to put the answer where you're going to ask the question. So we do that a lot. We have an all hands meeting every morning. So where we talk amongst a lot of things, continuous improvement and what are things that we can do to make our jobs easier. And then everybody kind of has, we ingrain it from the beginning that the only way to promote is to replace yourself with somebody that has less skill and experience. So in order for someone to move up, they've got to processize and systematize what they do for their daily work so that somebody that doesn't have 20 years, maybe they only have 1 or 2 years of experience, can come in there and carry a bulk of that load. So we do try to ingrain it just throughout the entirety of the business. Not that it's easy, but it's that simple.
Yeah, a lot of things they're not easy, but they're simple. I like what you're
Yeah.
doing. What is one of the biggest challenges that you're faced with as you're trying to refine and create those systems?
I think with the systems in particular, it's, yeah, I've got a fair amount of practice with it, and so I know that the first time you to put it out there, it's not going to work. Like I'm past that point of like, oh, I've wrote this amazing process. All we got to do is read these directions, and it will work every time. So I know it's not going to work, but I also know that the only way to get it to work is you have to kind of like force it to work at first because it's going to feel a little awkward and uncomfortable. And then once you're practiced in the process enough that hey, if it's 2 weeks later and you're still forcing it, it's probably a bad process. If it's and it needs some change. If it's 2 weeks later though, and you've just kind of fallen into that pattern and it's working well, then it's probably, doesn't quite need as much refinement right now. But we also know that almost everything should be refined, and the best process is no process at all. So if we can eliminate things that we're doing because we've gotten better at other portions of the business, we have to have the like humility to, even though we'd worked so hard to develop this portion of the business, maybe that portion is no longer needed because the business has evolved. And that has been a struggle to teach that lesson to people, because it's like I can't be the one writing all these systems and processes. Other people need to do it. And so to kind of teach that stick to itiveness that's, balanced with some, a large dose of humility. And then, just the confidence to be able to say to someone like, this is how we're going to do it. It teaching that to others is definitely the biggest challenge. And then, these processes sometimes will slide. They'll kind of like degrade in quality. People won't like, they'll let it go once and then twice, and then pretty soon it kind of unravels. So just kind of holding the line tight and teaching others to keep the line tight, that's definitely a challenge.
Nice. That tracks. That makes a lot of sense. And so um I like that answer, holding the line tight and kind of like having to do that. And that's got to be challenging though, because you're like constantly have to think about being on the pulse of keeping that together.
Yeah, I had a conversation even with one of our, so he's our laser operator, and our morning meetings, they're not like they're not always a family friendly event. Like they're, we run a, it's an adult conversation at times, so I was talking with him afterwards about it, and just explaining to him like, hey, this is his portion, and he needs to get that accomplished. Like there's 8 other things that are tied into what you're doing. If you're not doing it though, you're kind of screwing up all these other activities within the business. So um, it can be very challenging to, at an interpersonal level as well, to just keep people kind of motivated to do the little things to make sure that they are holding the line tight for the rest of the team.
100%. Well, thank you for sharing about that. Kind of looking at the future of your business, where do you see your company going in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think the next 3 to 5 years, we want to be just kind of like established as a, kind of the standard for this, advanced manufacturing support. We're definitely doing that now, but we want to grow and be maybe not quite double the size in manpower, but we want to definitely have like greater breadth of what we can do in house, and just doing a higher level of complicated products. So we've got some parts in space, we've got some parts here and there, but we want to like grow that and expand that to just be working on getting that call consistently from these companies that are pushing technology forward.
I like that too. I think that's like a big golden nugget to have those goals in place and really strive for them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's huge. And now looking at your team currently, do you see emerging leaders on your team right now?
I do. I actually, it's funny you say that today, because before this call, I was going to maybe sit down and meet with someone, but I wanted to meet with them when I had more time available, because I've just been seeing this like, oh man, this guy could be a good leader. And I didn't hire him as a leader, but he's kind of like growing in that direction. We've tried hiring, leaders, and it hasn't worked. So I've had better luck in the past, kind of growing leaders. And so I have a few, and some of them are young, which I like. I think that we're kind of a young shop in general, so I am excited about that.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that's so cool. Like as a business owner myself, I like to see when some of my team is like naturally stepping up. So I think that's really cool. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It like I mean, because and like you said, as a business owner, you can appreciate just like it's like a weight off of your chest or off your back, where you're like, oh, they're going to handle that. Like that feels so good, and that they're doing it kind of on their own volition and their own internal drive.
100%. Yes. So I kind of want to shift into a little bit about your marketing, how you're gaining your clients. So what are some of your marketing pursuits? It could be anything from social media to word of mouth. Like what's working for you?
Yeah, so when I moved to Texas, like I said, I didn't know a single person in this entire state, and I had this like I was telling someone the other day, I started my previous business out of ignorance, and I started this one because of arrogance. I thought like, oh, I've had this successful business, I could totally do this again. How hard could it be to get all these new customers? Then we move here, a new state, it's the middle of a pandemic, and it was like crickets. And so I had to kind of, when I started this company, it's American Precision Engineering. We acronym that down to APE. So we play a lot with APE, and we have all these different APE themed things. So kind of from the word go, I realized like we're going to have to do a different strategy from sales and marketing. So just even with the beginning of the naming, and then because COVID was so challenging, because starting a business in the middle of that was so challenging, I really just like knuckled down on that. I read every sales and marketing book I could get my hands on. I took sales training. I still in that now. Um, we do, for this is more of a sales and marketing, but like the Google ads, we use Instagram pretty heavily. We do a little bit of LinkedIn. Um, we do, a lot of things like I don't want to call them high quality, but it's not leisure wear or anything, but we do like shirts and that sort of, but like nice swag that people want to wear. All of our packages we do, we think of like every one of those touch points with the customer is a marketing and it's a branding opportunity to that the customer can experience. So, whether that be the way that we package it, the way we tape it, the way our paperwork is, we always have these like we're coming out with the new ones all the time of like these fun stickers that play on the ape theme. And so we put them inside the shipping ticket in the receiver. And so like we'll have like very, companies from names you would recognize that will like call us people there and be like, can we get some stickers? Because people are fighting over the ones that you sent, So and it's cool. We, customers will buy, like we've had customers like buy dozens of shirts to distribute to their whole team and things. So it's kind of like this maybe it's guerrilla marketing to play on the ape theme to just kind of to get in with these, we work with a lot of engineers that are this like, it's 28 to 38-year-old male, like you're somewhat nerdy but likes to be cool guy engineer. Like they're kind of simple to because that's what our whole business is made up of. So we kind of know what those people like, and we just try to do things that will attract that type of person to our business.
Oh, I like that. That's so well branded. I think especially for what you do, it's kind of unique, like the whole ape thing.
Yeah.
It sets you apart.
Yeah, and like we do stuff like because we can make almost anything. So like we'll make like we've made fun Christmas gifts and we do like just fun gifts for the customer. So instead of like here's a beer koozie or whatever, it's like we'll make something and we like if you can't like some of them are, we're an adult business. Some of them are kind of like push the boundaries a little bit, but like we get a lot of positive feedback from the customers when they get our gifts. So yeah, we have fun with the ape thing, that's for sure.
Oh, I dig it. I can imagine like you guys have like a 3D printer and do this little apes or something.
Yeah. We do stuff like that. I mean, we've made like yeah, like this year. I don't want to give too much away for the gifts this year, but we got some good stuff that we're planned.
Cliffhanger.
Uh,
Oh, that's awesome. Well, gosh, this has been so fun to have this conversation with you so far. Now I kind of want to dive into our fun Q&A, which is
Sounds
our
good.
rapid fire questions.
All right,
All
bring it.
right, we're gonna go do four of them. So,
Okay, cool.
all right. Question number one is, what is a key to success for you?
Not quitting.
It's a huge one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like with business, it's like it's so hard sometimes, and I sometimes just think like just outlast, just if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and just don't quit, don't let the business fail right now, and just keep hammering away. So that's don't quit for me.
100%. Number two is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
I don't think I'm smart enough to give like broad advice to another business owner, but I mean, it'd probably be, something I have learned is that there's always going to be some new challenge and just sort of accept it, that there's always going to be something keeping you up at night and don't get too emotional about this particular one. And like, it's okay if you got to cry about it tonight, like, but it will pass. Just keep hammering away. You'll get through it. And as a sole owner, there's no one else I can like lean on at any particular time other than like calling another business owner sometimes is just like they can always seem to relate to the challenges, and it could be a floral shop, a dentist, it doesn't matter what it is, like that the challenges of ownership and entrepreneurship are so universal, that's agnostic to what you're actually doing in the business, that sometimes just having a conversation is what you need to get through the hard part.
Oh, 100% agree with that. That's so true. Number three is what is a book? It could be a book, a podcast, an article, just anything that has resonated with you lately.
Yeah, I read a ton of books. Like I haven't had a television for like probably almost 2 decades, so I just read a lot. So I read a lot of history books and a lot of business books. I'm reading, I think it's called Build right now by Pharrell. I think his last name is Pharrell. He worked on the iPod and the iPhone and some things. So I don't know. I don't. That's just the current one right now. I don't think it's like blowing my mind, but I always have this like constant drumbeat of history to kind of get my mind off of stuff and like a passion, and then business books because I'm just like, a lot of them are trashy. They're like trashy novels for business owners basically, but they're like there's usually some little nugget in there, and it's just kind of like, even if maybe that's me just like finding a way to be in touch with another business owner that wrote a book about something. So I don't know.
I dig it. I dig it. I gotta read more of those too. It does help to sometimes read just somebody else's words and like what's in their mind because it's lonely in there sometimes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I don't know if mine gets lonely. I mean, I guess it's lonely, but it's like so chaotic in my brain that like sometimes just hearing other people's challenges for whatever reason gives me a little calm. I don't know. Maybe it's
I get
to
it. I
see a
get it.
therapist about. I'm not sure.
Chat GPT it.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess last question is if you could wave a magic wand and rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
I mean, if I could have just one thing, I think it would be that's really hard right now to say, but I would say either a shop manager that or an engineer, both of which would need to have a whole lot of carryover of engineering and manufacturing. So maybe they could do all of it. I don't know. That would be the person. If I
Amazing.
made a magic wand, I get to make this like make believe person at the same time, I guess.
You never know what can happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, gosh, this has been such a fun conversation, Daniel. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can people connect with you and your business online?
Yeah, you can check us out. I mean, our website is apeamerican.com, or on Instagram we're ape.american. And we're on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And for our final question of the day, what is most inspiring to you today?
I think what's most inspiring to me today is it's kind of maybe a weird one, but my son, I have a 11-year-old son, and he's like the most driven, competitive little human ever. And he just wants to like, and we have this little thing I always say like "out" to him, like, which is his acronym "outwork everyone." And and man, he does, and he works out and he studies hard and he plays all these sports, and it's like I will. It pushes me to be my best version when I see him out there like going so hard. So he's definitely inspiring to me.
I love that. That's really sweet. I think that's like kids are so sometimes we need to look at the kids because they don't have all
Yeah,
the things we have, that
yeah. You don't have so much ego in it. They're just like genuine.
100%. Well, Daniel, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being on the Business Spotlight today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.